K-drama cycle. The moment the S026 production team confirmed a sudden lead change, the internet didn't just react, it erupted. What was first framed as a creative adjustment quickly spiraled into one of the most talked about controversies of the year, because this wasn't just about casting. It was about timing, silence, and the uneasy tension between two names fans never expected to see placed on opposite sides of the same headline, Faye and Yoko. For months, S026 had been quietly building anticipation. Industry insiders described the project as bold, emotionally layered, and career-defining for whoever carried it. Fans followed every rumor, every alleged script leak, every blurred behind-the-scenes photo. Yoko's involvement had become almost symbolic, not officially announced, but heavily implied through subtle clues, staff follows, and carefully worded interviews that felt just vague enough to fuel hope. Then, without warning, everything changed. The announcement dropped late at night. No countdown, no teaser, just a clean press release confirming Faye as the new lead. No mention of who she replaced. No explanation. No gratitude post to anyone else. And within minutes, fans noticed something even stranger. Yoko posted nothing. No denial. No congratulations. No clarification. Silence, in fandom culture, is never neutral. As congratulations for Faye poured in, another conversation began forming underneath the surface. Why now? Why this project? And why did Yoko unfollow two staff members linked to S026 just hours before the announcement went public? What followed felt less like gossip and more like a slow burn reveal. Longtime followers of Yoko began revisiting her recent interviews. In one clip from weeks earlier, she had smiled while saying, "Some opportunities aren't meant to last, but the lessons always do." At the time, it sounded reflective. After the casting news, it sounded loaded. Almost like a goodbye no one had noticed. Then came the hidden message. Fans spotted it first in a photo Yoko uploaded the morning after the announcement. A simple image, neutral caption, but in the background, partially cropped, was a handwritten note taped to a mirror. The words weren't clear at first until someone enhanced the image. Truth doesn't disappear. It waits. The screenshot went viral within hours. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Faye stepping into a role. It became about whether something had been taken from someone else. The fandom split instantly. One side defended Faye, pointing out her professionalism, her talent, and the fact that she never asked to be dragged into controversy. The other side questioned the production's transparency and wondered whether Yoko had been quietly sidelined after months of implied commitment. And through it all, Faye stayed silent. No celebratory live stream. No behind-the-scenes selfies. Just a short statement thanking the team and promising to honor the story. To some, it felt classy. To others, it felt carefully restrained, as if even she knew this wasn't a simple win. Insiders began leaking fragments. Nothing concrete, but enough to suggest tension behind closed doors. Contract renegotiations. Schedule conflicts that didn't exist until suddenly they did. Creative disagreements that allegedly escalated after early script readings. And one rumor that refused to die, that Yoko had already completed chemistry tests before being quietly removed from the final lineup. No one confirmed it. No one denied it either. Meanwhile, fans began comparing timelines. Yoko's sudden change in social media tone. Her cryptic reposts about creative loss. A playlist she updated titled Unsaid. Even her fashion choices shifted, darker colors, sharper silhouettes, fewer smiles. It felt intentional, as if she were communicating without speaking. And then, unexpectedly, she spoke, just not directly. During a fan event unrelated to S026, Yoko was asked what she had learned this year. She paused, then said, "I learned that sometimes growth comes from being pushed out of places you thought you belonged." The room went quiet. The clip exploded online within minutes. The phrase pushed out became the center of the storm. Was it about S026? Or were fans projecting their own disappointment onto her words? That question divided the fandom further, turning timelines into battlegrounds of interpretation. Every emoji, every like, every unfollow became evidence in a case no one officially acknowledged. And Faye, once again, said nothing. Those close to her suggested she was caught in the crossfire, stepping into a role that came with expectations, resentment, and pressure she never signed up for. Others argued that accepting the role without addressing the situation was a statement in itself. In fandom logic, neutrality often feels like betrayal. As filming began, set photos leaked. Faye in character, focused, serious, unmistakably committed. The production moved forward as if nothing unusual had happened, but the audience had already changed. Viewers weren't just waiting to watch a story unfold on screen. They were watching the real-life story behind it. And Yoko? She returned to work quietly, announcing a new project weeks later. Different genre, different tone. But her announcement caption read only 3 words, "On my terms." Fans didn't miss that either. What made this situation linger wasn't anger. It was uncertainty. No official fallout. No confirmed conflict. Just a trail of moments that felt too deliberate to ignore. A replacement that happened too fast. A silence that spoke too loudly. A hidden message that may never be explained. As S026 prepares for release, one thing is clear. The show will be watched through a lens shaped by everything that happened before the first episode airs. Every emotional beat will be analyzed. Every character arc compared to what fans believe was lost. And somewhere between ambition and legacy, between opportunity and omission, the truth sits quietly, waiting. Because in this industry, stories don't always end when the credits roll. Sometimes, the real scandal is everything that never gets said. K-drama cycle. As the days passed, the conversation around S026 didn't fade. It deepened. What began as shock slowly turned into investigation, the kind only devoted fandoms know how to conduct. Fans weren't just reacting anymore. They were reconstructing a timeline, frame by frame, post by post, silence by silence. One detail began circulating quietly at first, then louder. Weeks before the replacement announcement, Yoko had stopped liking S026 related posts altogether. Not just official content, but fan edits, theory threads, even casual mentions. For someone known to acknowledge fan support religiously, the absence felt deliberate, almost like a withdrawal before a storm. Then came the industry whispers. A stylist allegedly close to the production liked a comment that read, "Some people work for months just to be erased overnight." The like was removed minutes later, but screenshots live forever. Another crew member posted a story showing a script page, the character name blurred, but fans claim the initials didn't match Faye's role announcement. Coincidence? Maybe. But in moments like these, coincidence rarely convinces anyone. Meanwhile, Faye's presence on set became more visible. Paparazzi photos showed her arriving early, leaving late, headphones on, expression unreadable. Sources said she requested extra rehearsal time, insisting on understanding the character's emotional foundation rather than rushing into filming. To supporters, it proved her respect for the role. To skeptics, it looked like damage control, an actress trying to ground herself in a role born from chaos. The pressure wasn't subtle. Every leaked image of Faye was met with 2 reactions, praise and protest. Comment sections split cleanly down the middle. She deserves this. This should have been Yoko. And somewhere in between, a quieter group asked the question no one wanted to answer. What if both women were victims of a system that thrives on silence? Yoko, on the other hand, seemed to be reclaiming control in her own way. She stopped posting cryptically and instead shifted toward clarity, but only in actions, not explanations. She announced a brand collaboration focused on authentic voice. She attended events with an ease that suggested relief rather than loss. And during one appearance, when asked about future roles, she smiled and said, "I'm choosing stories that choose me back." That sentence hit harder than any statement ever could. Fans interpreted it as confirmation without confirmation, a soft admission that something had gone wrong, but she refused to let it define her. The narrative began to evolve. Less about being replaced, more about being released from something that no longer aligned. Still, the question remained, why the secrecy? Industry analysts weighed in, pointing out how common it has become for productions to quietly swap leads to avoid backlash, legal complications, or contractual scrutiny. Announcing the replacement without acknowledging the previous attachment wasn't accidental. It was strategic. And the strategy worked, at least officially. No lawsuits, No statements, no mess. But emotionally, the mess was already out there. Then, just as speculation reached its peak, another detail surfaced. An early S026 promotional document leaked online for less than an hour before being taken down. In it, the character description matched earlier fan theories linked to Yoko's past roles, traits she was known for embodying. Fans argued it felt written for her. When Faye's first teaser clip dropped weeks later, the character appeared subtly reworked, sharper, colder, more distant. Whether intentional or not, the comparison reignited everything. Was the story rewritten to fit the new lead? Or had the lead been chosen to fit a rewritten story? Neither camp could prove their case, but both felt strongly enough to keep watching. And that, perhaps, was the most ironic outcome of all. S026 hadn't lost interest, it had multiplied it. As premiere day approached, the cast began press interviews. Faye answered questions professionally, gracefully redirecting anything that hinted at controversy. "I focus on the work," she repeated. "That's all I can control." She never mentioned Yoko by name. Not once. Yoko was asked separately, during a live stream, whether she would watch S026. She paused, then said, "I hope everyone involved finds success. Not I'll be watching. Not I'm excited. Just hope." The distinction didn't go unnoticed. What fans slowly began to understand was this: there would be no dramatic reveal, no shocking expose, no public reckoning. This story wasn't built for closure. It was built for interpretation. And perhaps that was the real scandal. Two women, both talented, both professional, positioned against each other by circumstances neither fully controlled. One stepping into a spotlight heavy with expectation, the other stepping away with quiet resolve, and an industry content to let fans argue while it moves on. As S026 prepares to air, viewers won't just be watching a fictional narrative unfold. They'll be watching with memory of what was promised, what was implied, and what was never confirmed. Every emotional scene will carry an echo of what might have been. Every success will feel complicated. Every critique, personal. And long after the final episode ends, one question will likely remain unanswered. Was this a replacement or a revelation? Because sometimes the most powerful messages aren't delivered through press releases or interviews. Sometimes they're hidden in silence, waiting for the right moment to be understood.